So chapter 30 today, Madhurya, Ras Vichar, Vatsalya and Madhurya. Madhurya. One day, Vijay and Brajanath, after honoring Bhagavat Prasad, went to take darshan of Sri Haridas Thakur's Samadhi and Sri Gopinath at Sri Gopinath Tota. Tota Gopinath. They then, my Gurudev has said, by the way, that Westerners are not allowed into the Jagannath temple. But my Gurudev has explained to us actually the very heart of Jagannath is held by Gopinath in the Tota Gopinath Mandir. This is the heart of Jagannath there. They then proceeded to the Radhakant Mat. After offering their pranam to Sri Guru Goswami's lotus feet, they sat down and began to discuss a variety of subjects with Sri Daina Chandra Goswami. In the meantime, Sri Guru Goswami, after honoring Mahaprasad, gracefully came out and sat on his asan. When he describes like this, gracefully came out, I remember how my Gurudev would walk. I remember how Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada would walk. Everything would be with complete grace. Everything about these personalities is completely on the transcendental platform. So I think that's very pertinent that he says gracefully came out and sat on his asan. Brajanath then humbly inquired about Vatsalya Bhakti Ras to Sri Guru Goswami. And Sri Guru Goswami replied, yes, we've already discussed Shantaras and Dasyaras and Sakyaras, and many of the aspects, the Anubhavs, the Sattvika Bhavs, the Vyavachari Bhavs, that apply to those particular rasas. So now, today we're going to start on Vatsalya Ras. So, Sri Guru Goswami replied, in Vatsalya Ras, Sri Krishna is Vishaya Alamban. That means he is the center. He is the object of worship. And his elders, Guru Jana, are Ashraya Alamban. Krishna is beautiful with his dark complexioned limbs. So now we have the vocabulary of what is the meaning of Vishaya and Ashraya and Alamban. We've gone over this many, many times, so there should be some familiarity building here. He is endowed with all auspicious symptoms. His behavior is mild. His speech is sweet. And he is simple and bashful. So this is Krishna in relationship to his Guru Jana, which is certainly different in his relationships with the Sakas and with the Sakis. He is modest, he is respectful towards his elders, and he is charitable. Among his elders, Brajeshwari Yashoda and Brajeshwara Nanda Maharaj are the most prominent. Others are Rohini and the other elderly gopis, who are Krishna's worshipable superiors. Also, Devaki, Kunti, Vasudeva, Sandipani, and so on. So that's in different realms, in Dwarka and Ujjain. In this ras, the Udipans are Krishna's age, such as Kumara. We say Kumara or Balya. Balya means childhood. His beauty, his dress, his childhood, his restlessness, his sweet words and laughter, and his pastimes. If we read the Damodarastakam Leela, all these beautiful pastimes of Krishna are described there. Brajanath, please tell me about the Anubhavs of this ras. Goswami, the Anubhavs are smelling Krishna's head, cleansing his limbs with the hands, offering blessings, giving him orders, nurturing him, and caring for him, and giving beneficial instructions. The general Sadharana Anubhavs of this ras are kissing Krishna, embracing him, calling him loudly by name, and restraining and scolding him at the appropriate times. This is like Mother Yashoda. So there are different descriptions of our connection with Krishna, manifested as these Anubhavs. Brajanath, which sattvika transformations arise in this ras? Goswami, there are 8 symptoms such as shedding tears, trembling, perspiration, and becoming stunned. There is also the unique symptom of milk flowing from the breast. So altogether there are 9 sattvika bhavs, sattvika vikars in this ras. So the milk flowing from the breast is the 9th one. Rajanath, kindly also tell me about the Vyabhachari bhavs. Goswami, in Vatsalya ras, the Vyabhachari bhavs are the same as those I explained previously in connection with Prita ras, Dasya ras. In addition to all the others, there is apsmara, fainting. Asmara, fainting. Rajanath, what is the staibhav of this ras? Goswami, the staibhav is the rati of the benevolent superior for the object of his kindness, which is utterly devoid of reverence. The Vatsalya rati of elders like Yashoda is naturally mature. The staibhav of this ras progresses through prem and sneha to rag. Baladev Prabhu's bhav is a mixture of Prita, Dasya, and Vatsalya. Yudhishthira's bhav is combined with Vatsalya, Prita, Dasya, and Sakya. Ugrasen, the king in Dwarka, Priti Dasya ras is a combination of Vatsalya and Sakya ras, and Nakul, Sahadev, and Narad have a mixture of Sakya and Dasya ras, as is the bhav of Rudra, Garuda, and Uddhav. So Uddhav has this bhav, a mixture of Sakya ras and Dasya ras. Someone was asking me today about the bhav of Uddhav. It's a mixture of Sakya ras and Dasya ras. It's Dasya ras in the sense that he's always ready to put Krishna on a platform of being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he also has a very intimate or close relationship. It's not so intimate because there's a barrier of Aishwarya, but still it's a very close relationship, as we see. Rajanath, Prabhu, I've understood Vatsalya ras. Now kindly explain the ultimate mellow, Madhurya ras, for we shall become blessed simply by hearing about it. So this is another point. Simply by hearing about these topics, whether we can understand them or not, doesn't really, it's not the most important thing. Just to hear submissively these topics, and gradually, in time, they will start to gel. I was reflecting today that when I was proofreading this, before it was first published in 2001, is when we published the beginning of 2000. I was reading through these chapters, and I was thinking to myself, no one is ever going to read these chapters. This is what I was thinking in my mind, that these chapters won't be read. But now, so many have become practically addicted to reading these chapters. So we see over a period of time, is what I'm pointing out. These things, these understandings will manifest. Goswami, Madhurya Bhakti Ras has been called Mukhya Bhakti Ras. The conditioned jiva has taken shelter of mundane ras, but when his intelligence becomes dedicated to Ishvara, he naturally attains the path of detachment, of course. Even then, he cannot be inclined for Madhurya Ras until he becomes eligible for Chidras. Such people have no qualification for this ras. The very nature of Madhurya Ras makes it difficult to understand, and candidates for Madhurya Ras are rarely found. They are going to be the recipients of a Rasik, Bhuvaka, Vaishnava. This is the reason why this ras is extremely secret. We just described today in the Falshruti how this path that Mahaprabhu is giving us is very confidential. It's not even revealed in the Vedas. What to speak of this path of Madhurya Ras? It's not opened out. This is the reason why this ras is extremely secret. Madhurya Ras is naturally an extensive subject, but I will only give a brief summary now. So this whole description actually is only going to be in very brief. Later on, when we become more eager, then there are so many descriptions in other Shastras that will take us deeper into this subject matter. Ujjvala Nilamani, principally. Brajanath, Prabhu, I am a follower of Subal. I know that you will consider my eligibility to hear about Madhurya Ras and instruct me appropriately. So one who is in that mood of Sakya Ras is going to be okay up to this point. Later on, Bhaktivinoda Thakur will take Brajanath out of the picture and only Vijay Kumar will remain studying this Madhurya Ras. Goswami, the Priyanam Sakas are eligible for Sringara Ras to some extent. I will keep your qualification in mind and speak whatever is appropriate for you, and I will say nothing unsuitable. So those Priyanam Sakas like Subal, they're considered most intimate. Subal is about 12 and a half years old, and he performs most intimate services between Radha and Krishna. Brajanath, who are the Alamban of this Ras? Goswami, Sri Krishna is the Vishaya Alamban of this Ras. As a gallant lover, Dhira Lalit, he is the supreme abode of expertise in relishing pastimes of unequaled and unsurpassed beauty, because it's the topmost Ras. The Ashray Alamban of this Ras are the gopis of Braj, and Srimati Radhaji is the best of all Krishna's beloved consorts. The sound of Krishna's Murli is the Udipan of this Ras, and the Anubhavs are casting sidelong glances and smiling. All the Sattvika Bhavs manifest completely in Madhurya Ras, and so do all the Vyabhachari Bhavs, with the exceptions of laziness and fierceness. Brajanath, what is the nature of the Sthai Bhav of this Ras? Goswami, Madhurya Rati becomes Madhurya Bhakti Ras when it has been nourished by the appropriate vibhavs and so on of one's Atma. Such Rati for Radha Madhav is not subject to any type of obstruction, vicheda, through the influence of compatible Swajatiya or incompatible Vijatiya bhavs. So this is so strong that even these compatible or incompatible bhavs will not ultimately obstruct this Madhurya Ras manifesting. Brajanath, how many types of Madhurya Ras are there? Goswami, there are two divisions of Madhurya Ras, Vipralamba, separation, and Sambhog, meeting. Brajanath, what is Vipralamba? So this is a place which we need to note down. We need to know there's going to be descriptions of 4 types of Vipralamba and 4 types of meeting. So we should become familiar with these descriptions. Goswami, there are many types of Vipralamba, such as Purvarag, Man, and Pravas. Also, Prem Vaichitya is described later on as a type of Vipralamba. Brajanath, what is Purvarag? Goswami, Purvarag is the bhav that exists before meeting one's beloved. It's a mood of anticipation. Brajanath, it's like the mood described in Venugit. Venugit is full of Purvarag expressions. Brajanath, what are Man and Pravas? Goswami, I don't need to explain Man because everyone understands it. Pravas means being away from each other or separation, viraha. Pravas means away for a long time. Brajanath, what is Sambhog? Goswami, Sambhog is the bhog, anand, that occurs when lovers meet. I will say no more about Madhurya Ras. Those sadhaks qualified for Madhurya Ras should learn its confidential mysteries by studying Sri Ujjvala Nilamani. So Goswami is being brief here because Brajanath is present, and he doesn't want to compromise his Sakhi Bhav. Brajanath, kindly tell me something about the position of the Gona Bhakti rasas. So Brajanath is wanting to know the analysis of this ras. Goswami, there are 7 Gona rasas: Hasya, comedy; Adbhuta, wonder; Vira, chivalry; Karuna, compassion; Rodra, anger; Bhayanka, fear; and Bibats, disgust. When they become powerful and take the place of the Mukhya ras, they appear as separate individual rasas. When they act as independent rasas, in this way, they become the Staibhav. That means they sometimes take over because they become so prominent, and they act like in Madhumangal, for example. He's in Hasya ras. Hasya ras is a Gona ras, but it becomes like his Staibhav because he's always acting in that way. And when they are nourished by appropriate vibhavs and so on, they become rasa. Actually, only the 5 mukhya rasas, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, are rasa. The 7 Gona rasas, beginning with Hasya, are generally included within the category of Vyabhachari bhavs. Brajanath, I am fully acquainted with Hasya and so on from my studies of Rasa Vichar in Alanka Shastra. So please tell me about their relationship with the Mukhya rasas. Goswami, now I will explain how the various rasas, such as Shanta, are mutually compatible or incompatible. Dasya, Vibhats, Dharma Vira, chivalry in performing religious rites, and Adbhuta are all compatible for Shanta. Adbhuta is also compatible with Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. Shanta is incompatible with Madhurya, Yudhavira, Rodra, and Bhayanka. Dasya is compatible with Bibats, Shanta, Dharmavira, and Danvira, and incompatible with Madhurya, Yudhavira, and Rodra. Sakya is compatible with Madhurya, Hasya, and Yudhavira, and incompatible with Vatsalya, Bibats, Rodra, and Bhayanka. So we can imagine be thinking of the different personalities who are representing Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, etc., and consider their particular bhavs in relationship to the Vishaya Krishna and see this incompatibility. Vatsalya is compatible with Hasya, Karuna, and Bhayanka, and incompatible with Madhurya. Vatsalya, for example, Mother Yashoda doesn't want to have a intimate conjugal relationship with Krishna, so it's incompatible with Madhurya. Yudhavira, Dasya, and Rodra, these are incompatible. Madhurya is compatible with Hasya and Sakya, and incompatible with Vatsalya, Bibats, Shanta, Rodra, and Bhayanka. Hasya is compatible with Bibats, Madhurya, and Vatsalya, and incompatible with Karuna, and Bhayanka. So Hasya is incompatible with this mood of compassion and fear. It's incompatible. We have to translate the words ourselves as we're reading them. We should be familiar now with Hasya is like laughter, comedy. It's compatible with this Bibats. It's compatible with Madhurya and Vatsalya, but incompatible with compassion and fear. Adbhuta is compatible with Vira, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. This is all astonishment. And incompatible with Hasya, Sakya, Dasya, Rodra, and Bibats. Vira ras is compatible with Adbhuta ras and incompatible with Bhayanka. According to some opinions, Vira is also incompatible with Shanta. Shanta is that neutral ras. Karuna is compatible with Raudra and Vatsalya, and incompatible with Vira, Hasya, the Sambhog aspect of Shringara, and Adbhuta. So, if we have the fortune to read a good copy of this Ujjvala Lilamani, these rasas are gone into much more depth, and we can appreciate their compatibility and incompatibility. It's actually a very significant point to appreciate what is compatible and what is not compatible for the rasa to manifest properly. Rodra is compatible with Karuna and Vira, and incompatible with Hasya, Shringara, and Bhayanka. Bhayanka is compatible with Vibhats and Karuna, and incompatible with Vira, Shringara, Hasya, and Rodra. Vibhats is compatible with Shanta, Hasya, and Dasya, and incompatible with Shringara and Sakya. So we can explain all these, but in our own meditation we can be understanding when we're familiar with the terminologies, what they mean, etc. Vibhats discussed is compatible with Shanta, Hasya, and Dasya, servitude, laughter, this mood of neutrality, but it's incompatible with Shringara. Shringara is specifically the relationship between Krishna and the gopis, and Sakya Ras has nothing to do with that will inspire Vibhats discussed. The remaining combinations are all mutually neutral, Tatashta. Brajanath, please describe the result of the combinations. Goswami, the tasting of rasa is increased by the combination of compatible rasas. The combination of anga, supplementary, with angi, principal rasas is good, whether the compatible rasa is mukhya or gona. It is appropriate to make it complement, mitra of angi ras. I'll read it again. Whether the compatible rasa is mukhya or gona, it is appropriate to make it the complement, mitra, of angiras. And the angiras is the principle. Rajanath, please tell me about the difference between anga and angi. Goswami, when any ras, either mukhya or gona, dominates the other rasas and becomes prominent, it is called angi. And the rasa that nourishes the angi ras plays the role of a sanchari bhav as an anga, as stated in the Vishnu Dharmotara. Rasanam samavetanam yasya rupam bhaved bahu sa mantvyo rasa stai shesha sancharino mataha. When rasas combine, one should understand that the rasa whose nature is particularly prominent is the sthai bhav, and the other rasas are sanchari bhavs. So there is a principal platform for the sthai bhav, but it appears to be replaced sometimes with a prominence of the vyabhachari bhavs or the angi, these angi rasas. It can sometimes replace that. Brajanath, how can Gonaras be angi? Goswami, Rupa Goswami has said, Hodyan vivavanoks karshat pustin mukhyena lambhita kunchata nijanatena gunopi angi vam ashnute mukhyastvam ganpatam asadya pusnam indram upendravat gunam evanginam kritva niguda nija vaibhavaha anadi vashanam vasa vasite bhakta chetasi bhatyeva natulina syad eva sanchari gunavat angi mukhya swam atrangai bhavestai abhivartayan swajitai vijityai swan tantra san virajatahe virajate yasya mukyasya yo bhakto bhava nitya nijashraya angisa eva tatra syan mukyopi anyo nirgam vrajet rigat trigat majet. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 4, 8, 46, 50. So as I've said so many times, Bhaktivinoda Thakur is paralleling the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but we have the Bindu, and the Bindu is paralleling this perfectly. For your information, we're up to page 247 in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu today. And all these will be more clarified in there. You see, it depends on our enthusiasm for the subject matter. If we're enthusiastic, we'll go to the reference books and dig deeper, deeper, deeper. Sometimes, translation, sometimes even a Gona Ras achieves the position of Angi when it is inspired by an abundance of Vibhav. Vibhav means the relationship between the Ashraya and the Vishaya, and has also been nourished by the Mukhya Ras that usually predominates it, but has now developed a contracted condition, Gonabhav. Contracted means shrunken. At that time, the former Mukhya Ras becomes Anga, hides its own splendor, and nourishes the Gona Ras that has become Angi, just as Upendra Bhagavan, Vamanadev, maintained Devaraj Indra. So in that circumstance, Vamanadev is Bhagavan himself, and he was maintaining Indradev, the king of heaven. He was maintaining him. He's God, but he's maintaining Indra. Unlike the Gona Sanchari Bhavs, this Mukhya Ras does not merge into the land of the Bhakta's heart, which is endowed with sublime fragrance in the form of the beginningless tendency for transcendental service. So like Devaraj Indra hadn't got the mood for transcendental service. He was actually being served by Vamanadev, rather than he was doing the service himself. He was being served in the form of being protected by Vamanadev. In other words, the Mukhya Ras does not disappear as the Gona Rasas do when they become Vyabhachari and disappear into the Mukhya Rasas. Just like waves, they disappear into the principal Staibhav, the Mukhya Ras. Rather, the Mukhya Ras remains independently manifest, nourishing itself by the aggregate of the compatible bhavs, which take the position of angas. Actually, these descriptions are so sublime, they are so beautiful. If we read them by ourselves, perhaps, or just with one or two others, we can really taste the beauty of these descriptions. Those who relish a particular rasa are eternally sheltered in that one specific ras, which for them remains radiant as Angi Ras. Other rasas, even though they may be Mukhya, function in the capacity of Angas of this prevailing Angi Ras. I'll read that again. Those who relish a particular rasa are eternally sheltered in that one specific ras, which for them remains radiant as Angi Ras. Other rasas, even though they may be Mukhya, that means primary, function in the capacity of Angas in this prevailing Angi Ras. The Angi Ras becomes so powerful that the other rasas are subdued into it. You should also note that Anga Ras is only accepted when it combines with Angi Ras to increase the relish of Ras. Otherwise, its combination with another Anga Ras will be fruitless. It has to have the Angi and Anga together. Rajana, what happens when incompatible rasas are combined? Goswami, if you mix a sweet juice with sour, salty, or pungent substances, the taste becomes distasteful. Similarly, when rasa, wow, so much noise today. I hope you're not being too much distracted. If you mix a sweet juice with sour, salty, and pungent substances, the taste becomes distasteful. Similarly, when one rasa is combined with another, that is incompatible. The result is without rasa, or tasteless, virasata. This defective combination of opposite rasas is called rasabas. Normally they all stop their work at 5 o'clock. But just today, when we reached this particular spot in our reading, they've decided to go longer because they're just completing some work. Brajanath, is the combination of incompatible rasas invariably bad? Goswami, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 4.8, 63 and 64, Sri Rupa Goswami has said, Davyo ekatara shaisyaha bhadyat veno pavarnane smaryaman atopya apya ukto samyena vachana picha rasantarena vyavaharo tyatashtena priyena va vya vishayashraya beda cha gunena dvisata saha iti adishu na varyasham varino janayad uti. The combination of two incompatible rasas does not result in virasata under the following circumstances. When one establishes the excellence of one ras by making logical statements and by describing the obstructions or inferiority of another ras that is incompatible with the first. When one describes the remembrance of an incompatible ras, when one establishes the similarity, when there is intervention of a neutral or compatible ras, or when there is a difference between the vishaya or ashraya of a gona ras and mukhya ras that are incompatible with each other. So these are the combinations of compatible and or combination of the incompatible rasas, invariably bad. Furthermore, consider this point. In bhaktas, such as Yudhishthira, Dasya and Vatsalya are manifest separately at different times. Mutually incompatible rasas do not arise together at the same time. However, in the stage of Adhirudha Mahabhav, if all the incompatible bhavs arise together simultaneously, they will not generate rasabhas, because Adhirudha Mahabhav is the highest possible stage of bliss. So when that is rising, any other incompatible rasas are just subdued. Sri Rupa Goswami has said, Kvapya chintya mahashakto mahapurusha shekare rasavali samavesha swadayo yaiva bhajayate. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 4.8, 83. When many contradictory rasas combine at once in a personality who is the crest jewel of the Mahapurushas and who is imbued with inconceivable Mahashakti, this only enhances the wondrous nature of the taste. So this noise behind me is getting out of hand. I'll read one more paragraph. Brajanath, I have heard from learned and Rasik Vaishnavas that Sriman Mahaprabhu had a low opinion of Rasabas, and that he would never hear bhajans, kirtans, or poetry that contained it. Now kindly tell me how many types of Rasabas there are. I can remember my Gurudev once, we were on a street kirtan in Mathura, and it was in the morning time, and one devotee began to sing the evening melody to the Hare Krishna mantra. My Gurudev became so infuriated, he grabbed a danda and literally broke it over this devotee's shoulder. He was angry because the pure devotee, he can really sense these rasabasas. They're an infliction on his mood completely when something strident comes in from the wrong quarter, when it's not in a purified way. So I would see Srila Gurudev would be like that. Goswami, rasa, when it is devoid of an angi, is called rasabas. There are 3 gradations of rasabas: major, uttam, intermediate, madhyam, and minor, kanishta. They are called uparas, anuras, and aparas, respectively. So I think I'll continue tomorrow. The noise is extreme today. So I think we can finish this chapter tomorrow. Okay, so I hope you've been able to patiently hear these descriptions and at some point drink them deeply into our hearts with contemplation. It's very purifying, I'm personally finding, just listening to these descriptions. It takes us to a very sublime state of consciousness, and we become purified through the listening. And when we take to our Harinam, Japa, etc., or our various sadhans, then I think we'll find extra strength in our focus and attention on all these topics. We're stretching our consciousnesses to the limit, more or less, understanding or hearing these topics, especially if we haven't heard them frequently. Then they're challenging just to be attentive and hear them. And it's very good, it's healthy for the mind to focus like this. So we'll continue tomorrow and we'll complete this chapter 30. Jai Vedama ki jai, Rasa Tattva Madhurya Bhav ki jai. So now we come to our chapter 30, Madhurya Ras Vichar Vatsalya and Madhurya. We're on page 631, and we're right down the bottom of 631. So yesterday we were discussing principally very beautiful explanations of what are compatible and what are incompatible rasas, and what is this rasabas. And we talked about the angi and the anga of these different rasas. So now we come to the question by Brajanath. I'll read the paragraph before, after the translation, in the middle of the page. Brajanath asks a question. Brajanath, I have heard from learned and Rasik Vaishnavas that Sriman Mahaprabhu had a low opinion of rasabas, and that he would never hear bhajans, kirtans, or poetry that contained it. Yes, we understand that Swarup Damodar was like the gatekeeper, Lalita Sakhi. He would not allow any rasabas to come to the ears of Mahaprabhu. Now kindly tell me how many types of rasabas there are. Goswami, ras, when it is devoid of an angi, is called rasabas. There are 3 gradations of rasabas: major, uttam, intermediate, madhyam, and minor, kanishta. They are called uparas, anuras, and aparas, respectively. Brajanath, what is uparas? Goswami, if any of the 12 rasas, beginning with shanta, has an ingredient such as the staibhav, vibhav, or Anubhav that has become disfigured, Virupita. They can be called Uparas. Uparas is caused by the disfigurement of the Staibhav, Vibhav or Anubhav. This will be explained. Brajanath, Brajanath, what is Anuras? Goswami, the secondary rasas beginning with Hasya, if not related to Krishna, are called Anuras. If Vira Ras and so on are manifest in neutrally disposed personalities, they are Anuras. Vira Ras is a Gona Ras. Brajanath, but if they arise in the heart of someone who has no relation to Krishna, they are not ras at all. In that case, they will be mere mundane ras. Why then have such symptoms of anuras been described? Goswami, ras is anuras only when it has no direct relationship with Krishna. For example, the gopis laughed when they saw the nose of Srimati Radha's pet female monkey, Kakati. So that's not directly in relationship to Krishna, but it's a ras within Braj. I'll read it again. For example, the gopis laughed when they saw the nose of Sri Radha's pet female monkey, Kakati. Another example is Devarshi Narad seeing some parrots sitting on the branch of a tree in Bandirvan, discussing Vedanta. When he saw this, great astonishment, Adbhuta Ras, arose in his heart. The gopis' laughter and the Adbhuta Ras arising in Narad's heart have no direct relationship with Krishna, but there is still some distant relationship with him. Hearing Vedanta and seeing the monkey, knowing that it belongs to Sri Radhika, is the relationship. Consequently, both are examples of anuras. They're not mundane, as Brajanath was asking. Brajanath, what is aparas? Goswami, when Krishna's opponents are the ashraya of any of the gona rasas, beginning with hasya ras, and the vishaya is Krishna himself, the result is aparas. I'll just read that again. When Krishna's opponents are the ashraya of any of the gona rasas, beginning with hasya ras, so it can be any of the gona rasas, and the vishaya is Krishna himself, the result is aparas. These are Krishna's opponents. For instance, Jarasanda's repeated laughter when he saw Krishna running away on the battlefield is an example of aparas. It's in connection with Krishna, and yet it's not in attraction or affection to Krishna. It's his opponent. It's Krishna's opponent.
It is enemy.
Enemy, yes, enemy. Srila Rupa Goswami has written in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Bhava sarve tadavas rasabas cha kechana ami prokta rasabhagna sarvepi rasanand rasaha. Some persons refer to bhav in terms of tadabas, a dim reflection of the Supreme Absolute Truth, and others rasabas. However, learned scholars who have realized ras only use the word bhav and to denote rasa, that is derived from relishing transcendental anand. So it's qualified here. When Vijay Kumar and Brajanath heard this rasik, charming and poignant appraisal of rasa tattva, they fell at Sri Guru Goswami's lotus feet. Weeping profusely, they spoke in voices choked with emotion. Agya timirandasya gyananjala shalakaya chakshu unmilitam jena tasmai Shri Guruve namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to Sri Gurudev, who has applied the ointment of Divya Gyan and has thus dispelled the dense darkness of the desires of Dharma, desires for dharma, artha, karma, and moksha. So these desires, which arise from the 5 types of ignorance. In this way, he has opened my transcendental eyes, which have become inclined to the service of Hari. So we can look in the footnote at the end, on page 635. It's describing the 5 types of ignorance. Are ignorance of one's Swarup, misidentifying with the inert material body as the Atma, possessiveness towards mundane sense objects or the self-conception of being the enjoyer, absorption in duality or attachment to substances other than Krishna, and fear and distorted perception, Virup Gahan. So these are the 5 types of ignorance. These are described also much more clearly in Madhurya Kadambini, right at the beginning. In this way, he has opened my transcendental eyes, which have become inclined to the service of Hari. Lovingly lifting them up, Sri Guru Goswami embraced them and blessed them, saying, "May this Rasa Tattva manifest within your hearts." Every day, Vijay and Brajanath would discuss spiritual topics with Sri Dina Chandra Goswami and accept Charanamrita and Sri Guru Goswami's prasad remnants. At various times they observed that many Shuddha Vaishnavas were engaged in bhajan, sometimes in their bhajan kutia, sometimes at the samadhi of Sri Haridas Thakur, sometimes at the temple of Sri Gopinath, and sometimes at Siddhabakul. Thus, through the example of the Vaishnavas, they also became immersed in bhavs favourable for their bhajan. They also had darshan of the places mentioned in Stavavali and Stavamala, where Sriman Mahaprabhu experienced complete absorption in bhav. Stavavali is by Raghunath Das Goswami, and Stavamala is by Rupa Goswami. When Shuddha Vaishnavas performed Nam Kirtan, they would join them. In this way, they both increasingly matured in their bhajan. So this is a description how the sadhak can make his progress. Vijay pondered deeply. Sri Guru Goswami has given us shiksha about Madhurya Ras, but it was just a very brief summary. Let Brajanath remain submerged in Sakya Ras. At an appropriate time, I will come alone to Sri Guru Goswami and hear his elaborate appreciation of Madhurya Ras. Thinking in this way, through Dina Chandra Goswami's mercy, he acquired a copy of Sri Ujjvala Nilamani and began to study it. Any doubts that arose in his mind, Sri Guru Goswami would mercifully reconcile. In other words, to go to the next stage, this Ujjvala Nilamani is the next stage after the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu brings us to a certain point, but the Ujjvala Nilamani takes us very deeply into the subject of Ras, totally. Once at dusk, while Vijay and Brajanath were strolling, they arrived at the shore of the ocean. Sitting on the beach, they gazed at the waves. There was no end to the incessant waves. Observing this, they considered, this life is full of an incessant and unending flow of waves. Thus no one can know what will happen next, or when it will happen. Therefore, we should immediately learn the method of Rag, Marg, Bhajan. So we had some very wonderful thunder to accompany that paragraph, showing that Krishna can arrange anything at any time. Brajanath said, I have seen the bhajan Padahati composed by Sri Dina Chandra Goswami. It seems to me that if one studied it under the guidance of Gurudev, one could obtain a beautiful result. I will make a copy. Having made this resolution, he requested Sri Dina Chandra Goswami permission to copy his sacred manual. But Sri Dina Chandra refused to give it unless Guru Goswami gave his permission to do so. Accordingly, they approached Sri Guru Goswami, begging him to allow Dina Chandra Goswami to give the Padahati. Sri Guru Goswami gave his consent, and when Vijay and Brajanath obtained it, they made separate copies. They considered that they should wait for an opportune moment to approach Sri Guru Goswami in order to understand this Padihati thoroughly. So I think it's very wonderful how Bhaktivinoda Thakur has included here very clearly that only under the direction of the senior Vaishnavas can we be gifted with these higher granthas to study. So Bhaktivinoda Thakur is making this point clear here. Sri Dayana Chandra Goswami was a learned scholar with a broad and comprehensive vision of all Shastra, especially in regard to the procedure of Hari Bhajan Tantra. No other scholar could match the depth of his experience, and he was the most prominent among all of Sri Gopal Guru's disciples. Understanding that Vijay and Brajanath were qualified for bhajan, he instructed them both thoroughly. Occasionally, they approached Sri Guru Goswami's lotus feet to clear all types of doubts about their practice of bhajan. Gradually through their studies, they came to comprehend the daily pastimes of Sriman Mahaprabhu and Sri Krishna. Thus, becoming engaged in Astakaliya bhajan, they rendered service within their hearts throughout the 8 time divisions of the day. I think this last paragraph is also very significant in the sense that they're approaching Dayana Chandra Goswami like a Shiksha Guru and asking him many questions, and him being very knowledgeable is explaining so much more than Gopal Guru has summarized so many things. Now Dayana Chandra is going into more detail for these two sadhaks. So the serious practitioner of this Rasa Tattva is seeking any number of Shiksha Gurus to carry him further into this subject matter. Thus ends the 30th chapter of Jayabhadama, entitled Madhurya Ras Vichar Vatsalya and Madhurya. So then there's these 5 kinds of ignorance. By the way, all the footnotes in the Jayabhadama all the way through are only written by Bhaktivedanta Narayan Maharaj. There was a lot of others previously, and we took them all out, and Gurudev just wanted his own footnotes there. So this is the end of chapter 30, and we should note now clearly that Brajanath is going to be left out of the conversation. Brajanath, his focus is on Sakhya Ras. So therefore, many of the more confidential topics will not be opened up to him as they would be to Vijay Kumar. So now Bhaktivinoda Thakur has decided to leave Brajanath behind. So now from the 31st chapter through till the 40th chapter, we'll be just hearing directly focused towards this Madhurya Bhav, this conjugal ras.